to Terrence Howard, who basically is talking about he about to expose Hollywood. Speaking of podcasts, because it was just asked literally before I went into this topic, do I think that the podcast space is becoming stale? Well, since I said that the podcast space is becoming stale, do you think the bubble will ever burst or keep expanding? And I'm just like, look, eventually it's people are gonna just have the ones that they like, and then the ones that suck, you'll see that nobody, they'll have to move on to the next thing. We'll see how, only the strong will survive, as I say. But speaking of podcasts, now Terrence Howard, because he was running his mouth the other day on that conservative podcast, I think he also went on Joe Rogan, but I saw that he did a Joe Rogan interview. I don't know how recent it was. I didn't care enough to look, but when I was looking for something in regards to like Terrence Howard here in this story, I did see that he did an interview with Joe. So he's going on a lot of these conservative podcasts spewing a bunch of BS like he did the other day when he was talking about manhood and protecting manhood, which y'all saw that Wilson Cruz went and scalped his dumb behind when he was talking about manhood, because apparently taking dick up your ass makes you less than a man. I'm sorry, but it takes a real man to take a dick up his butt. Trust and believe, it is not easy. It's painful. If I can remember that far back, because when I was in my early homosexual years, when I was trying to figure out what position I like in the bedroom, I was taking a lot of meat and potatoes. Then I wised up and was like, I don't like it. So, but I know how, now that I know how the bottoms like it, because unless you've had a couple up your behind, then you know how to treat bottoms when it comes down to doing the do. So now Terrence Howard is talking about, because he was out here saying all this foolishness, they're saying that he told TMZ that he's about to come out with his own podcast, because apparently he thinks he has the wherewithal to do so. But I will say, this might be an interesting one. He's talking about he's going to expose Hollywood. And he said his podcast will be a studio's nightmare and every actor's wet dream. Well, wet dreams are actually a good thing. I mean, they're messy, but I didn't think wet dreams was a negative. But I don't know if it'd be an actor's wet dream, because if you're going to be spilling tea about fellow the celebrities you work with, it'd probably be a nightmare for them too, because you spilling their personal business in your podcast for sponsoring some money. Well, I don't know if anybody's going to sponsor it, because I don't know if sponsors want to get in bed with somebody who's going to be out here being salacious and telling Hollywood secrets. He also said that he plans to uncover business betrayals and shady transactions he'd been handed in the entertainment industry. But don't expect Howard to throw around accusations about other celebrities. The actor only plans on speaking truth to power. Now, the Best Man star recently accused the Diddler of deception, claiming on the PBD podcast, one of the conservative podcasts that I was telling you about that he did, that the music mogul, who's currently in jail, sought acting advice from him, and then Howard's assistant basically had to tell Terrence, because he was like, oh, he's into his music, but all he was doing was staring at me. Then the assistant said, I think he wants to sleep with you. Sidebar, I did hear that Diddy's team is trying to postpone, delay, same thing. It's trying to postpone the trial, in May, and the judge was like, denied. So I guess it's going to go as scheduled. Now, also on the podcast, Howard alleged the men who attended Diddy-hosted parties gave up their manhood to be at the events. Well, I don't know. Look, and this is what I was saying before, that you run around talking about going to these events, having sex with men, makes you less than a man. If you don't want to sit and if you're not into putting penises in your butt or whatever the case is, then don't put it up in there. But if other people want to do what they do and go to a freak off and partake in certain situations because they feel that it will help enhance their career, they're the ones at the end of the day that have to look in the mirror and accept those consequences and do those things. Nobody ever put a gun in somebody's head and said they had to do something they didn't want to do unless it was against their will. And who are you to sit there and judge it? And then also coming out here to my man cards and stuff. You wouldn't know what a man was if it slapped you upside your head, because word on the curb was, isn't Terrence Howard a woman beater, allegedly? So we've heard stories about you, sir. So you want to sit up here and talk about being less than a man? I didn't know it was manly to be putting paws on the opposite gender. Now they said in the article that Howard's given some memorable, albeit bizarre podcast moments, like claiming last year on the Joe. Oh, so it was last year when he did Joe Rogan's show. That he remembers being born along with other nonsensical math and pseudoscience theories. For those who aren't convinced of Howard's equations, he's opened the floor to a duel. Child, who cares? Because there's this Twitter video. I'm like, should I even play that for y'all so y'all can see how weird this dude is? Maybe I will for shits and giggles. But it was like, first of all, you a damn liar because nobody actually remembers when they were born. I don't even remember what the hell I was doing when I was born. Or nobody remembers coming out of their mother. So you sitting up there lying. Anyway, let me play that for y'all. And then we'll come back and talk. Please hold.
Listen, before y'all talk about me, y'all need to talk to me. You see, once upon a time, if a man questioned another man's honor, he didn't do it from the shadows. He had to do it out in the open, with his name, his chest out, and his chin high. Not hiding behind the keyboard or tucked behind editing clips of fair use disclaimers. You see, citing Section 107 of the Copyright Act does not give you free rein to defame, misrepresent, or harm another's reputation. Fair use is not a shield for character assassination. So here's the simple truth. If you take my words, my image, my ideas, and twist them to feed your fear and inflate your ego, if you profit off of my name while calling me a liar, then be prepared to stand behind your accusations. Because in the old world, men didn't hide behind anything when they spoke against someone. They had to speak it with their whole being. And if you're going to speak against me, then use the same courage that it took for me to say those truths. Man to man, eye to eye, integrity and in truth. I've spent a lifetime earning the right to speak with the conviction about these truths that I speak. So if you want to tear that down, have the decency to come and say it directly to my face.
Okay, we got the point. Because like Terrence out here, he on that good old sauce, acting like the uncle from the that's hanging out on the corner that just be drinking all damn day. That's what he giving right here in this damn video. I was like, Chav, you don't sit your tired ass there. But anyway, so he supposed to be coming out with this podcast. I don't know if I'll be watching it, but if you be out here spilling something, then I'll check it out. But in the meantime, I want to hear from y'all. But you got to be out here spilling something worth actually going in and giving a good goddamn about. So I say all of this to you guys. What do you think of this story? Are you here to want to, or do y'all even care about hearing what Terrence Howard alleging that he going to be spilling on his upcoming podcast? That I guess he got the gift of gab after going on that show that he did. It was spewing a whole bunch of weird whatever. Can y'all imagine if Kanye came out with a damn podcast? We'd all be in trouble. Because it's like all of y'all that like rambling on about a bunch of weirdness, all of a sudden everybody want a damn podcast. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.